So yesterday we talked about the documentation. We checked the cubes and the dimensions section of it. We also have other sections, setup and appendix. On the setup, you see some properties of the instance that you have set up, the demo databases, the companies, and other parameters. Now you also have a project overview. This is not useful for the development part, but it's useful for the sales and marketing part, just so you can see how many data measures we have, how many dimensions do we have, and how many tables have we included in the BI project at the moment. So this is the setup, and appendix section is the top table report, which will get the top tables from the SQL Server. Now this is, I think this is, Luca, correct me if I'm wrong, but this, it seems to me that it's not working properly. We have the record, but we don't have the reserved and data size here.
Yeah, it definitely looks like there's an issue there.
Okay, so we'll correct that, but you know, as part of the training, you need to know that this is here, and you can check it right away. Yeah, good. So you have all the tables here, the stage tables, fact and dimension, whichever is the biggest one. And also, okay, so this one seems to be working. This is top 30 procedures by executing in time. Now, let's talk about this a little bit. With the customers, you'll probably have a environment where the processing will not go as smoothly as it has been on our computers with the demo database, where we only have a couple of, or just the data size is so small that it just flies through. And for the majority of the store procedures, it doesn't even register any time because it was so quick. So we're talking in seconds here. With the customers, this will be relevant. So you'll see how much time each procedure takes. And if one of the procedures is, you know, standing out of the crowd, and you see that it really slows down the processing time, then we would start thinking about optimizing the set procedure. So in this case, we have load inventory stage. Let's assume that's not 7 seconds, but it's 7 hours, right? Then it becomes a problem. For the customer, especially with all the other store procedures are within, I don't know, 1 to 3 hours ratio. And that just means that for only one procedure, you will wait about 7 hours, which is unnecessary in most cases. Now, what leads to a procedure to be executed a really long time? So it can be data size, of course. It can be the slow server, okay? But in this case, everything would be slow, not only one procedure. Or it could be just one procedure if that store procedure was customized. If you did some development on it, so added new fields, added new measures, and so on, and you made a mistake there, and that could lead to data duplication, or even the data can, you know, triple and quadruple. That's not unheard of. So especially with the with customization. So in the standard BI for Dynamics project, that doesn't happen because we have, you know, at headquarters, we have some tests in place that check that before, you know, you can have that store procedure be, the execution time could be greater if you did some errors on the customizations. And we also have a few tools to check if everything is okay on that side. And we'll take a look at it at the a little bit later. Okay. You see my computer is still a little bit buggy. I don't have the taskbar here, but never mind. Okay, let's go into the application and look at one of the last things we haven't looked at, and this is the stage tab. Now, you can go to Stage and press Tables and Columns. So we have, I think we have checked this before at the beginning of the training, but we didn't pay much attention to it. I only presented it to you just to know which tables and columns do we use in a specific project, right? So we talked about different columns or fields from a specific table that is used in one or more databases that we have added. Now, I've gave you this as an example already, but in this case, we have some fields that were only added recently and are not present in the recent Navision versions. Okay. Let's say, this one is a good one. So ship to code on the customer dimension, on the customer table, sorry, was not there in Navision 2018, but it is there in BC16 and BC17. Okay, so what can we do with this screen over here? Before we made the transition to do everything with manage model and manage dimension, Wizard, this was pretty useful. Not anymore, but we do have an important feature up here. So I was saying that a customer might have a long processing time due to the size of the data. Now, what you're looking in the BI project is a data set that is representable for the customer that they can use and make a decision upon it. Now, if that customer has a really big database and it has a lot of years of data in the database. Let's say, for instance, if they have data from 2000, I don't know, 9, let's say 2009. And if you check today, it's 2021. That's 12 years worth of data. Now, for the day-to-day business, I'm not sure that data from 12 years ago or even 5 years ago is still relevant, okay? Because the world has changed so much and probably their business has changed so much that they don't necessarily want to make decisions on the data that old. What is usually relevant is the last 3 years, maybe 4, okay, around that area. So, and what we can do here in BI Dynamics is limit the amount of data that is coming within the project. So what I'm saying here is if we look at a transactional tables, let's say GL entry, okay? And now I want you to switch focus on this side over here, okay? So I'll click on the column that would limit the amount of data coming in. Now we can do some filters on every column, but the one that makes most sense is the document date, okay, or posting date, any kind of date that is on the document. In this case, I think we have posting date. Okay, and then this section to the right, it says source column filter T-SQL. Okay, now I have 3 databases. I know this one is fairly new. This is BC17. This could only be implemented in the last year or so. So this database will hold small amount of data. Also this one, right? But 2018, this can have more amount of data inside. So what we do here, we can limit the amount of data coming in by writing a simple T-SQL sentence here. Let me show you. It doesn't matter on which database it is at the moment. I'll just use this one, but I'll just show you how to do it. So what we'll say that, okay, we need posting date that comes in only be equal, greater or equal. And I think this is the format. So 2019, January 1st. Okay. we will then you can then, after the meeting, you can test this on your side, especially those of you who have not selected this one. But even if you have selected this database, you saw that we have the data inside for year 21, 21 and 22. Okay, so you can still limit this to only the dates from 2022 comes in. Okay, so let's maybe do that. So you can, of course, save filter. Okay, that will save it within the application. Okay, and then we have a section here which is called deploy and deploy and process, and deploy and process all change tables in the current table. So this is pretty much in line with what you saw before when we were dealing with deploy and process on the grader level, so the whole project. Here we narrow it down to a specific table. In this case, it will be GL entry table. Now, when I press deploy here, before I do that, let me just recheck what kind of data do we have here. So I'll make this filter actually usable. Okay, January 21. Okay, let's filter. Okay, we don't have any filters here. Actually, let's do another pivot table here. And we'll start with debit amount. Doesn't really matter which measure we choose here. We just want to see what kind of data do we have here, and we'll have the date. Okay, we have something from 2020, 2021, and 2022. So this will be a nice exercise as well. Okay, so GL transactional data. Let's focus on that. So what we'll select is we'll try to remove the December of 2020 because it's not a full year, and the data is not it's not really representable, so we don't know what's going on in the previous month. So we'll try to filter that, and we'll use the filter so that the data is coming in from 2021 forward. Okay, so the data from this database will be actually we'll apply it to all database because I don't know where this data is coming from. But if I don't know, I can check that in the project as well. Let me see. We also, under company dimension, we also have a data source database name. So I'll use that. Okay, so okay, I have it in both, I think. So this is the same demo data in both databases. Okay. 16, 17, yeah, that's pretty much the same. And the grand total is, yeah, that's good. I'll remove that just to check. Yeah, that's it. So the same data on both databases. Okay, so we'll have to limit the amount of data that is coming in from 16 and 17. Now remember, I haven't yet deployed and processed, so I don't have the 2018 version here. When I will deploy and process the data, I will have data from this database as well. So what I will do is just filter on everything. I will save filter. Okay. Save filter. And then we talked about deploying a current table. Now, what does it mean to deploy the table? I've talked about deploy, that it means structures. And in this case, it's also structures because we are applying some filter to it, to this particular GL entry table. So just the current table. Okay, so we'll do deploy. Okay, of course we have some errors. Yeah, so this is maybe where I made a mistake. It's maybe because we haven't deployed the last database. Okay, a little bit of troubleshooting, no problem. So we'll do that, all part of the training. So what I will do here is go to, oh, come on. Okay, I'll go to our instance and I'll see if nothing happened yet. Okay, no problem. I will just quickly deploy and process everything. So I'll delete this. Actually, let me just save it and put it somewhere so I'll have it available later. Yeah, let's delete it. Okay. Try to deploy. Yeah, still some errors. Never mind. Okay, let's try to deploy and process all the tables. Okay, we got an error. This is nothing that that needs to be worried about, at least for our end. But it's good that we get an error, training purposes and all. So transaction failed because of the deadlock. So what happened here? So I was actually executing the fact load procedure, and it failed on the truncate inventory ship transaction. It is like the same table is already in use by somebody else. Now, this will happen with the customer, which has, which is actively using Navision at the moment. Now, our queries are set to low priority, so our query will fail. So they can keep using Navision as usual. Now, this happens also during the agent jobs, which we talked about yesterday. Usually they run at midnight. But in case the customer is doing some work on the Navision database at the moment, like backups, SQL backups, and we try to access the same table at the same time, there could be deadlocks. So what I'll try now. So deploy went through, that is okay, and now I'm processing the information. Stage went through okay as well. So we stopped at processing data warehouse. So I'll press that, and I'll just say yes, continue from where we left off. So this will effectively get the missing the missing procedure up and running, and then it will go through. Okay, since this is done, I only need to process analysis database. Then we'll try to refresh our Excel. Okay, good. Excel. Let's try to refresh data. Refresh all. Hoping for the best here. Yeah, good. So as you've seen, the new database came in. Okay, and we also have the two databases that were already there before. Now, I was kind of hoping the data will overlap a little bit. Unfortunately, it doesn't. This one ends at January 2020. This one starts at December 2020, but that's okay. We'll still use the filter for the same filter for January 2021. So let's go back. Yes, and it was successfully implemented. Okay, good. So let's check where this filter was applied. Now, as you know, everything that we do is also saved somewhere apart from the application, is also saved somewhere on the instance and in the SQL database as well. So when I press deployed here, I should be getting a new tag file. Now remember from the beginning, or maybe the second or third session that we had, the tag files, these are the files that say, that tells the application which data to bring over, right? When I deploy that specific table, it will give me a new set of rules what to bring over. And this is because of the filter that we have provided there. Okay, so let's have a look if this filter is here somewhere. Sorry, oh, I have to switch this to another screen. So maybe we should look for 2021. Yeah, okay. So we can see the column filter data, right, is coming in the tag file. So from this database is the filter, and from the next database the same filter, and from the next database we have the same filter. Okay, so now the application knows that it has to bring over only the the data that we filtered. Good. So okay, talking about the deploy. Okay, so when you deploy, this table is then empty. So we'll have to process the data again. But just to be safe, I'll do another deploy and process all. Okay, and in the meantime, we'll try to find it in the SQL. Where is this information stored? Now we talked about dimension and fact files and stage files. Tables, but we also have a set of setup tables here. Now, I've said that the information is stored within the application and then on the files and also the SQL server, and we'll check that just now. So setup data sources will actually tell us which data sources have we, sorry. Let's see what the issue is. Okay, still deploying. Okay, this is of course, the tables are the setup tables are populated on deploy. So we'll just wait this to end. We haven't talked about link server yet, so we'll do that next maybe. Okay, creating the stage tables. I think we should have information in there now. Okay, yeah. So let's go down to setup files. Okay, setup data source. So we have information about the data sources we have added, right? So in setup company, we'll have the information of the companies that we have selected. So you can always, if you're more familiar or more comfortable with working with Management Studio, you can always check the properties here. Now, we have some other setup tables as well, but what I'm interested in is the data source column. Yeah. So this is in SQL form, the information we're bringing over to the project. And you can see we have column filter data here. Okay, and we'll just try to find where this column filter data is not, is not empty. Okay, and we can see that on our posting date column, we have the filter. So this is the exact column that we have selected on the stage part. Yeah, so information is safe in multiple places, but the SQL is on, when you take a look at everything, the SQL is the most important because everything, if here it's not stored, if you only save filter within the application and it's not stored here, it will not work because everything we do is based on SQL, of course. Okay, yeah, this is still loading. Good. Maybe take a look at the rest of the files here. So we talked about companies and we talked about data sources. We also have setup dimensions. Okay, when we will see the global dimensions that we have selected for me, that's department and project for all three databases. And whatever you have selected, you should see that as well. Another setup file is a setup execution log. So that again comes from which field are you more comfortable working in. So either it's more SQL, the Management Studio, or you're more of a generating the documentation and seeing the execution time here. So we also store this information, and actually, Luca, correct me if I'm wrong, but we get this information, the visualized one, from the setup execution log.
I wouldn't know exactly, but yeah, probably because Tomasz brings me all the information from these tables. So yeah.
Okay, so I think it's coming directly from this table. So if we're taking a look at the execution log, okay, and we just order everything by execution time, okay, descending, and it will get us the information. How long does a procedure? How long is a specific sort procedure executing? Now, I think this is in milliseconds, if I'm not mistaken. But so we translate everything, into the seconds here. It's easier on the eye, right? You see right away what's happening here instead of in milliseconds in SQL. Okay, this is still loading. We'll wait. So what else do we have on the setup? Setup instance. So that is an interesting one. Okay, we have a couple of properties here, which we'll check later on. You have the SQL version here. Which one are you using? And the BI4 version, which you can, of course, check in multiple places. One is the application itself, right? And another one is if you go to the where BF Dynamics application is installed, and you'll click properties on the executable file, go to details, and you'll find the same exact information here. Okay, so again, the same theme, the same information stored at multiple places. Good, let's head back while we wait for this to finish. What else do we have here? Yeah, these are the most important ones. So the data source tables and the data source columns. So this is the tables that we bring in, and this is the columns that we bring in. So we divided this in two different tables. Yeah, company, data source, and dimension. Those are the ones that you will use the most. Company, data source, dimensions. Okay, let's check processing analysis database. And we'll focus again on our Excel. Okay, it's processed successfully. Now, hoping for the best here, I will refresh this data. Yeah, and this is exactly what we achieved, right? So everything from January 2021. And even though I have added the data sources, the third data source, which had earlier data, okay, when we filter the data, it doesn't even register in Excel because it doesn't have any data. Now, if I would do this, okay, so I don't have any values, so I just have a dimension. A dimension, of course, will display all the members, right? And this is a dimension, this is the dimension, and this is a dimension. This is a data source property, attribute of a dimension, okay? So it displays all members. But as soon as we add a measure, Excel already knows, and it's the same for Power BI, Excel already knows that which elements of the dimension has any data inside. And when I add a measure here, it will filter out the 11 database, and it will filter out the date. Now this is the property of a pivot table. Okay, let me show you. If I go to pivot table options, I think I can display items with no data on rows and columns. Okay, let's see. Yeah, and that's that, right? So we're displaying all items no matter what the data is. Okay, this is again a feature of Excel and Power BI. Okay, any questions here? Because I've moved through this quickly with the initial problems, but you see that then when you have it done, it's rather quick. So any questions here?
So I did the same actually, like I applied a filter in one of the database, okay, and it came in SQL, like I could see that the filter is applied for data source column, but in Excel when I refresh it, it's not reflecting actually. Like,
Yeah, have you deployed and processed?
Deployed and processed, like current table, right? Like deploy and process in the stage, or I have to do the entire deploy and process.
Yeah.
That will take a lot of time. Okay.
Okay, so if you have it, trust me, if you have it in the if you have it in here,
yeah,
right? If you have it in here, it will be applied. Now, so technically speaking, that will work. On the content side of things, you have to know what you're doing here. So if you apply a wrong filter, of course, the data won't make any sense. But if you have it here, then after deploy and process, you can do that after the training, no problem. You can still use the application, normally. When you do that, you should see the filter in the Excel.
Okay.
Okay. The problem. So why is it not coming through? If I ask myself a question from actually your remarks, why is this not coming through? Because this is a stage tab. So when you clicked, you probably clicked this one, right? Deploy and process current table. Yep. So this will only deal with stage. So in theory, I'm not sure what your filter was, but if you do that and go into Management Studio, and let's refresh the data. Let's refresh the the database. If we'll go down to stage table GL entry, okay, and select everything, and then we'll just order by posting date, not descending, but just by posting date. And let's find the posting date here. Yeah, my earliest record is 2021, and it should be the same for you, whichever filter that you have applied.
Okay.
Yeah, because this is, again, this is the stage tab, and we only apply filter on stage. We don't need to apply filters on data warehouse, because we are only already filtering the data that is coming into the project from Navision. Now, we can apply some filters, the where clauses on the fact tables as well, but that of course is a viable option. But if we can already filter the data that is coming in, we avoid getting a big stage table and then a small fact table. Now, technically speaking, we can do both, right? One and the other. Or just do the stage. This will filter the data that comes in, and then no need to apply the filter on the fact tables, or we can just apply a filter on fact table in case we need that stage table for something else. Now, this is, I'm going into specifics here. Also, the customers will have a lot of specifics. I'm just saying that it is technically possible to do that with BI4 Dynamics.
Okay.
Okay, understood?
Yep.
Okay, so this is the stage tab then, and you will not use it as much because you'll do everything on the manage dimension and manage model, but you can apply filters here. the way I show you. And this is true for every field. We did it on the transactional table, which make more sense, but we can do it, if we only have to bring a couple of items into the project, we can do that on the item number as well, for instance, right? Or the customer or any other table that is available here in the project. Okay, this is more advanced stuff. You will not be doing this. So I'm just saying that it is possible. It's not really likely that it will happen with the customer, but like I said, the customer which has many years of data inside and a lot of documents, and then on the other side has limited resources in terms of the server they can use. So they have a little bit more memory than desirable and a little bit more hard drive than that we would actually need to implement the whole project. Then we go into this stage and optimizing things that it will work for the customer. If the customer needs all the data and they have the proper resources, proper infrastructure, we just leave the project untagged, and it will just bring in all of the data. Okay, so this is stage. Good.